All right, guys, today we're going to talk about the importance of doing pre-purchase inspections for all you techs out there and for all you DIYers and for all you car shoppers. Let's get into it. This is a 2008 Jeep Wrangler, 3.8 liter, 212,000 miles on it. So it does have some miles on this thing. We have no idea what this man's paying for this vehicle, but if we look at it, if, you're walking on a car lot, you're going to check this thing out, looks nice, paint's in decent shape, right? Don't see tires are really good shape. It's a clean truck. You're looking at it. The interior is good. Nice two-tone seats, and just overall, this vehicle looks like it's really locked, but it looks like a good vehicle, right? I mean, you don't see anything that just stands out that says, "Oh my gosh, this thing's just been, rode hard and put away wet." It doesn't look like that. And unfortunately, this is a post-purchase inspection. So this client has already purchased this Jeep and then brought it to us for us to look it over. And we're going to go over some things that we found on this thing. And one of the things is a noise, and that's going to be the big kicker. So let's look at some other things first, though. We got the vehicle up in the air. We're going to look at the underside of this thing. We've already done the full inspection on this vehicle, so we already know everything that's going on with it. But we want to show you why it's so important to do this and how quickly things add up and why it's much cheaper in the long run to pay a shop to do a thorough inspection on it, so you can avoid, even if you want to buy the vehicle, even if you end up saying, well, I want the vehicle, you can use whatever work needs to be done as a bargaining chip. Very few vehicles are going to come in here and not need something. If it's a used vehicle for sale, and if it's got 20-something thousand miles on it, maybe. But let me give you a quick story about a 25,000 mile vehicle that was brought into me. This has been several years ago, and the vehicle was brought in. It was a newer Mazda. It was, like I said, it only had like 25,000 miles on it. It was a burnt orange color. It was a teenage girl that was buying it. The mom was bringing it in. So they both came in. They were sitting in the lobby and just wanted us to look it over, smartly, because the car from the outside looked pristine. Like I say, 25K on this thing. Looked pristine. I'm like, what are we going to find on this car? We put it up in the air. It looked like this car had been broken in half and welded back together. There was literally welds in the middle of this car. It was just, I was immediately lowered it down. I thought the car was going to break in two pieces. So, the girl was obviously very upset. She really loved the car. It was a pretty car, but that's a perfect example of, even if it's got low miles, didn't have anything on the report or anything on that. There was no indication that this car had ever been in a wreck, and it was in a bad shape. So let's look at this one. So right off the bat, we come under, and we can see we've got a leak here at our gearbox. So the lower seal on the gearbox is leaking. Years ago, we would replace that seal. These days, you replace the gearbox, and it's hard to get a good quality gearbox. So that's going to need to be done one way or the other, and it's not inexpensive to do. We don't have to come far. We got a pinion seal leaking. Again, not a major repair. This one is going to be a lot less expensive than that. This one, we can just put a seal in it. But, it's work that's got to be done. It's going to add up. We come up under here, and we can see we've got oil leaking, and it's all on this pan right here. Now, and if we come on this side, you can see the same thing. There is oil right up here. I don't know if you can see that without light. Maybe you can, or I can put some light. But there's oil all back up in this area. It's hard to see it, but that oil is coming from the valve cover. Take a look at this. That's coolant, right? That's coolant leaking. And that coolant is leaking from behind that timing cover way up top up here. And you can see there's a seal up there where the timing cover bolts to the engine block that is leaking coolant. That is a pretty major repair. The whole front of that's going to require removing the oil pan. So there's the oil pan coming off of it, and taking the timing cover off to do that, just to fix a coolant leak. That's major. Now we're really starting to add up, right? So rest of it going back pretty decent, no major issues. It's not rusty or anything, just a little surface. Definitely not. This is a clean vehicle as far as that goes. Overall, as far as body and frame and suspension stuff, it's going to need shocks on it. It's got 200-some thousand miles on this thing, so these are going to need to be replaced. That's just maintenance. So we don't really hold that against the vehicle, but it is going to be a cost that's going to need to be going to be incurred. On the front end, we did shake the front end down. We're going to get the tires off this thing in a minute, tires and wheels off of this thing in a minute. I'm going to show you the brakes on it. We can't get all 4 of them off because the one back, the rear, driver's rear has got a stripped stud, so it won't come off. So there's going to be some involvement in getting that off. So we're going to look at the brakes when I show you what we found there, but let's lower it down. The rest of the front end is in tight shape, but let's lower it down. Let's take a look at these ball joints. We're down here checking the ball joints, and the ball joints are not inexpensive either. I mean, all this stuff is going to add up. I want you guys to look right here. Watch this point right here, and you're going to see this ball joint move up and down, right? So you'll see the play in it. Right? And it's the top one and the bottom one the same way. So this one up here is doing exactly the same thing. So that's got play in the ball joints. Okay. Come over to the other side. That one's even worse. It's even got side-to-side play on that one. Let me try to see if I can't slow it down from. You're looking at the top. There you go. That's it up there. Yeah, you can see it up, right. Yep, you got it? Okay, watch. Yeah, that's a lot of play there, right? So, needs all 4 ball joints. Again, that's not going to be inexpensive, you know? So, I'm not saying it's not worth it to do it, but we haven't even got to the big one yet. We're only going to show you 1 front, 1 rear. Word of caution, or advice, or however you want to take this. When you're doing these inspections, all 4 wheels need to come off. Now, we can't get that one off because of the stud that's messed up on it, or lug nut and stud that's messed up on it. But we already know it's going to need work there, and we already know what the other side needs. If you only pull off, and I've seen people do this when they do brake inspections, right? They'll pull off 1 front, 1 rear. Well, I mean, that's great and wonderful until you pull this one off and it looks fine. And then you know that one over there is metal to metal because you've got a bound up caliper or hose that's bad or slides that are bad, something like that. So not only do you need to have all 4 wheels off of it, you need to look at all the pads, so both pads on all the wheels, so that you know that, you know, one on the outside. Like some people will look through the wheel and go, oh, that looks really good, right? But then the inside one will be bad, or vice versa. So I'll look at it from the inside and see, oh, that inside one's good, but you can't see the outside one's bad. Do a thorough inspection on these things. So in this case, let's take a look at the brakes on this. We can see that these are worn way down. I mean, they're almost metal to metal. If we come on the inside over there, let the camera get in there. Let me look through the camera, hopefully, and I can see. Maybe throw some light on there. But this one is the same way, almost metal to metal, right? So it's going to need brakes now. So it needs brake pads. It's going to need rotors when you do that. This side's the same way. We come back here. Let me show you what we found on this one. Now, the rear brakes don't generally, you know, they tend to last a little longer. You know, they can get a little bit thinner just simply because they don't do as much work, so they do tend to last a little bit longer. Now, look at what's amazing on this one is it looks like it's the factory, like these have never been off, because these clips are put on at the factory when they put these rotors on to hold the rotors on as it's going down the assembly line. So these brakes have never been done, which is actually not a bad sign, except that if you look at it, you can see that the top part of the pad up here, which is right inside this, is thicker than the bottom part of the pad right there, right? So it's going to need brakes on this anyway. I mean, they're really, really thin, but when we see it, basically it's worn at an angle, right? So that means that you've got more than likely either a slide is being bound up, or on the anti-rattle clips, which you can see right here, you can see there's a lot of rust buildup on it, right? So on the anti-rattle clips, see if we can get light, good. You know, they're binding up the pad, one or the other. So it's gonna need brakes. Again, by itself, not a big deal. It needs brakes, right? But you start adding that up with everything else, it starts to really snowball on us. So now let's look at the really big one. So let's lower this thing down and show you guys or let you listen to the major problem with this. We got Dustin in here. We're going to start this engine up. I want you to hear the noise that's happening inside this engine. And then we're going to show you the really bad part of this. So go ahead and start it up. So rattling like crazy. Sounds like upper engine noise. So it could just be a lifter or something like that, right? But we took it a step further just to be sure. Go ahead and shut it off. Thank you, Dustin. Let's look and see. Eric went a little step further, pulled the filter off of it, cut the filter open so we could look inside. And if we look here, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but there is a ton of metal in that filter. Yeah. So that is, I mean, if this thing has a worn camshaft, or maybe a lifter went bad and it's beating a camshaft up and the metal's coming off the camshaft, could you put a camshaft in this thing possibly and some lifters in it, get it to quiet down? Maybe, but the reality is that metal has, been introduced into that engine, and it's going to have caused other issues in there, and that's going to be a lot of money you're going to spend on putting, first of all, getting in there, inspecting. Valve cover's coming off of it, needs valve cover gaskets, okay, but finding out what's wrong with it, and then if it needs camshafts, which more than likely shown by this metal, probably, you put camshaft in it, you put lifters in it, then you got to pull the timing cover off of it, you got to pull the oil pan off of it to do that. Now you're in the timing cover area, 200,000 miles, 212,000 miles on it, probably putting a chain in there. So this thing's just racking up just on the engine part of it. Now, we could get into, of course, we're going to prioritize everything for him. The gearbox is not a massive leak, so that's something that he could put off. You don't have to do that to make this vehicle a viable, drivable vehicle. Something you need to have in the back of your head there, and be looking at doing that later. Brakes obviously have to be done. Ball joints, to me, that's a safety thing. I would do the ball joints. The pinion seal, put some fluid in it. You might get by a little while for that. That's a pretty good leak, it looks like there. But all this stuff,
That's not very expensive.
That's not a really expensive repair right there, just to go ahead and knock it out. The gearbox is kind of an expensive repair. That's why I say we could put that off, and it's a less of a leak. But in the end of the day, all this stuff, when we do a pre-purchase, or in this case a post-purchase, we put all of it together. We present everything just like we do on every inspection. We present it all to the client and let them know these are the things we found. And there's things, like I say, that we would, count kind of against the vehicle. So, I mean, obviously engine noise, things like that, that's probably going to be, a cut and dry deal. Brakes, those got to be done. If it's coming in here, like this got 212,000 miles on it, we're not really going to mess with fluid service and stuff on here. But let's say it comes in here with 75,000 miles on it. Fluid services are due soon. They did some, but they're due soon. Don't really count that against it. We just let them know, hey, those are going to be coming up down the road, just so they have an idea that they will be spending a little bit more money, maybe at 90,000 or something. So, but in this case, this probably, don't know what he spent on the vehicle, don't know what he's, looking to put into it. We'll present everything to him, but probably this would have been a, present this to the client. He probably would have went, maybe we could get something better out there. Clean vehicle overall, but obviously engine issues. Got 212,000 miles on it. Probably doesn't owe anybody anything. 212,000 miles on a Chrysler product with 3.8 liter in these things. But the really bad part is that this was just purchased, and now you kind of, where do you do with it, right? I mean, you're going to try to sell it the way it is, or are you going to start investing a bunch of money into it? Because you're almost, either way, you're going to take a hit in the pocketbook, unfortunately. So we got a little more information, and the client says that the previous owner had an engine put in this in July of 24. So this is early February of 25. So 7 months ago, and there's supposed to be some kind of warranty on it. So hopefully, don't have any clue how that's going to work out, but hopefully somebody will take care of this engine for him, so he won't have to take that hit. And, that would cover, if they do it, that covers the timing cover, that covers the valve covers, that covers obviously the engine noise. So all that stuff hopefully would just be covered in that warranty. And then he's just got the other things that we talked about, the brakes, the ball joints, and the other stuff that needed to be done on it. So hopefully this is going to will turn out okay for him. So appreciate you guys watching this one. I cannot stress the importance of just preaching from the top of the mountains that do pre-purchase inspections. It doesn't matter how many miles are on it. It doesn't matter how old it is or how new it is. Just have it done, pay to have it done, have a quality one done, have it thoroughly done, and then just go back as a bargaining chip, or you might just find out, hey, this is a great car, and I got to spend a few $100 on it. I'm happy. So, but you want to know that stuff before you write the check or you sign the document saying that you own the vehicle, right? You've got a way better bargaining, platform or angle there than you do after you pay for it. So appreciate you guys watching. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Have you ever been bitten by not doing a pre-purchase inspection? Let me know. Getting close to 200,000, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, because when we get there, we're going to have a great giveaway. Appreciate you watching. See you in the next one. Did y'all see the creepy guy behind me as I was doing the outro on that? Just sitting in there. Did y'all see that?
You didn't tell him to go.
I never told him to get out. You're good. Wow.